Good morning, folks. Today is the day we take this bar that we poured the other day and I start working it. I'm going to need to work this into several different shapes. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is trim up the little bits that sort of overflowed out of the mold, which I'm doing here with my snips. I like to do this manually because I save all my scraps. Next, take out these big old bolt cutters and let's cut a chunk of that bar off. Now these bolt cutters won't go completely through, so I take a hammer and I finish it. Yeah, just like that. Look at that. So this little piece is the piece I'm going to be working with today. So this piece goes in the drawer. So the first thing first, we're gonna have to anneal this. Annealing just means that we're gonna heat that metal up so that the molecules inside it sort of soften up. As you hit it, it becomes work hardened and the metal becomes stiffer and harder and can even crack and break. So we would like to get it nice and glowing hot just like that. And right over to the anvil. Here, it's pretty straightforward. I smack it down to the thickness I want. In between those, I anneal it under the flame. And when I get it to the point that it will fit in my mill, which I'm also taking some measurements with my calipers as I do this, I will stop this process and move over to the mill, in which I'll start to actually shape it into something flat. Now you'll see I'm still using my tweezers here. That metal is still extremely hot, but it's gonna make several passes, and again, you've got to anneal every time. So every time it goes to the mill a few times, it starts to harden up. I get to anneal it. I do this several times. What you're seeing here is several hours of work that I've been doing here. I've just condensed it into a few minutes. So very carefully, I reheat it up, re-anneal it, and then I'll take it back over to the mill. Once I get it to the thickness I'm looking for, I will divide it again. So here we are. This is what I'm looking at. I'm going to, take my little calipers here and mark a little point where I'm going to take these shears and I'm going to cut a piece off. And so I find it's a lot easier than just trying to use my hand strength to put it against my bench there and snip it in half. Keeping the small half, this goes again in the drawer for later use. This needs to be thinner, so back onto the block here to be annealed again. When I'm done, you'll see we went from that bar to this little medium thickness down to the thickness that I'm looking for what I'm going to be making, which is another one of those shadow box pendants, which means I'm going to have to take some more time tomorrow to make some wire and then flatten that wire out. But for today, this is what we've got done. Yes, sir. All right, so as you guys can see, there's a lot of work that goes into making these pieces that I do, these little shadow box things. You could go online and buy your metal in sheets. You can also buy your wire, which I do on occasion. But for the most part, I like to work with the metal. So it's a long and involved process. It's a several day process, and you really gotta love what you're doing to do it. So there's a little taste of what it takes to make this piece. So tomorrow we'll work on some wire, and then I'll show you how I put these shadow boxes together.